Okay, pitchers, I promised you some off-season strengthening, so today you're gonna get it. So what we're looking at today is load to explode strength for getting off of the rubber. Part of that involves right butt and hamstring, and the other part of that equation is hip flexor abs. So my load, no matter if you start back, step back, hamstring start, bent knee start, whatever your starting path is, I load this direction and then I explode out. So my ability to load is determined by my backside strength, but what we often forget about is the front side strength it takes to be able to get that left foot out. So a lot of people spend a lot of time working on that left hip drive, and instead I want to flip the script and work on the strength on the front side of my right hip in a right-handed pitcher. Okay, so we're going to go through it for right-handed pitchers. I want to work on the front side strength of that right hip and my ab, because that will determine how well and how far my left leg can get out. So let's talk through that. So as I start back on the rubber and I load here, I'm going to load into that butt cheek or hamstring depending on which way you start, and I'm going to drive through my hip. However, once I get up and I'm pushing to the end of this right hip, now it changes directions and we look at the eccentric strength of my hip flexor and my rectus or my long ab muscle controls what that front leg is going to do. So eccentric means a muscle has to be long and strong. So as that muscle lengthens, it has to be strong enough to control how far it's going to lengthen and how fast it's going to lengthen. So can it control all of that speed? So as I'm coming up and out, very hard to do in slow motion, by the way. So as I'm coming up with that left leg to drive out, ab muscle and hip flexor have to control the length of step I'm going to get on that left side, and they're controlling the rate at which I get there. If this isn't flexibly long enough, so I don't have enough mobility through hip flexor and rectus muscle, that's going to shorten my stride. If this isn't eccentrically strong enough, it's going to shorten my stride. And it's also going to limit the amount of control I have once I hit the ground. But being not strong enough or long enough is also going to limit my reach. So as I come out and I hit and my arm comes up and around, this has to be long and strong, so hip flexor. Abs have to be long and strong so I can have that arm in the air, right? So if I am inches shorter on my arm circle, then I'm miles per hour slower on my pitch speed. So I want to be able to really open up and lengthen through my hip and through my oblique and through my lat so that I can create a great arc to create a lot of speed and spin, right? Part of what controls that we sort of forget about is the strength of this hip flexor and the strength of this abdominal for me to get up and to be able to slow down, okay? So slow down just means it has to be able to change directions. So I started coming this way, I'm at the top of my circle, and now I have to start to come down, right? So what catches me at the top as I start to come down? Hip flexor and ab. If I don't have enough strength in a lengthened position, you're gonna either reach shorter, or I'm going to be shorter through my trunk, or I'm going to be shorter through my stride, and invariably it's going to end up in less miles per hour on the pitch. It's going to end up in funky form. It's going to end up in your body compensating and trying to figure out a different way to find that speed or that position, which can mean over rotating through your shoulders. It can mean having a bad knee angle with your hip, and that can cause injury in low back, hip, knee, shoulder, neck, you name it. We can have problems all because we weren't long enough and strong enough to manage that position. So how do we fix it? There's a great exercise. Again, as I give you any exercise, we are not allowed to do it if it hurts. So women are amazing creatures. If we do not have enough strength and length in our hip flexor and ab to control the activities, our brain says, okay, I'm gonna ask my low back to do more than, because this can't. And so what can happen is we can get some shear force through our low back, and that can cause pain and all kinds of problems. So if it hurts in your low back, don't do it. Or decrease the range to which you're doing it, so that you're not putting stress on your low back. If you feel apprehensive, meaning every time I do it, you're like, I'm not sure about this, that's not good. Your brain wants to be able to be in complete control of the activity. So do not force the speed that you do it or the length that you do it just to say I did the exercise, and the whole time you're sort of cringing and your brain is trying to protect you, protect you, protect you. So what we're gonna do, when I do it with my pitchers, we use a Versabell, just because these are, I like them better than a dumbbell. You can certainly do it with a dumbbell. This has a nice grip, which so does a dumbbell, but the difference is the Versabell has some sand in it. An RMT Club, if you use those, it has some sand in it. So that sand creates a bit of momentum shift, which is fun because it's one more piece to control. So if I am a right-handed pitcher, I'm gonna put the Versabell in my right hand, I'm gonna be on my right foot, and I have a table in front of me that's high. Like this table's, I don't know, 3 feet high, 3.5 feet high. I wanna really have to work on getting my leg up in the air. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna plant my right foot, I'm gonna swing Versabell back. So I'm gonna swing back, step forward, swing back, step forward, swing back, step forward. So I can start with a short reach, meaning I'm not stepping out very far to get up. What's important about this exercise is, as I'm up here and I'm swinging that bell up over my head, my hip flexor and my ab muscle, they're having to control the momentum up, and then they have to recoil to control it on the way back down. And they have to be long and strong on the way up, and then they have to recoil on the way back down. So now, in that pitch, as I try to drive out with that leg, my ab muscle will know, wait, I remember how to lengthen and be strong so that I can get that really good stride length, so that I can have really good control, and so that I can have really good reach. What I would recommend is, whether you're doing this with a dumbbell or you're doing this with a Versabell or an RMT Club, I'm gonna come back with one arm, but I'm gonna catch it with two, so that I can really exaggerate how far forward can my pelvis come in space. It's not a limbo shear through my low back. I want to see that whole pelvis slide forward, and I should see a good angle here and not have any low back pain. I can drive my pelvis clear forward and lean all the way back and not have any low back pain discomfort, because I have enough mobility in my hip flexor and I have enough strength in my hip flexor and ab to get me there. So this is one exercise that you can do to help improve that end range strength. So when we look at reps, what does it need to be? Start with lighter weight till you know what you're doing, okay? Meaning your body has tried to figure out how I'm gonna motor plan that exercise. So I start with lighter weight, then I can make it harder in 3 different ways. I can make it harder by increasing the weight. I can make it harder by going a little faster. I can make it harder by increasing the length of step or increasing the height of step to over-exaggerate where I want to be on my pitch. So if I know I want my knee to get to hip height, instead I'm going to try to step beyond that. If I know that my stride should be my body height, then I'm going to step and try to drive a little bit further. But every single time I have to have enough control that once I get overhead, I have a nice line through my belly and through my hip. I don't have any back pain. I don't have any shoulder pain. Nothing is bothering me because my body can stabilize to that position and I'm not going to have any pain. Then just beware that that might shift the timing of your pitch just a little bit. So if I am getting really good at this and I am now long and strong through here and I start with 5 to 10 reps, as I transition into my pitching, your circle should be better. You should have more stability here. If we change our reach, that might change your pitch just a little bit. So be aware of the length of reach is going to affect the timing potentially. And when we look at full reps for this, we got to look at how many pitches do we have in a game. So how many pitches do I have in an inning? So do I want you to start with, I'm going to do 60 of these? Absolutely not. We want to start at 5 or 10 of them, see how we do, and then make sure we take 1 or 2 days off in between. But you can literally work at a reasonable weight. So this is 10 pounds for me, and I weigh 185 pounds. A reasonable weight for me, and I start looking at reps of 20, 30, 40, reps of good form, meaning I can come back, I can get out, and I can control this all the way through my hip and all the way over my head and come back and recover. The minute you start cheating and you're coming short, you're done with the exercise. It has to be full arc of motion to get the biggest benefit out of it. So don't cheat and say, I did 50 of them, yay me, and you did 10 that were really awesome and then 40 of them that were really terrible. If you can do 15, 10, 5 and move through your full arc of motion and have a good angle at your hip, a good angle at your belly, and a great angle at your shoulder, it's going to carry over to great pitching performance. If something comes up and you have any questions about it, please let me know. Otherwise, happy training.